Spence. Nigga, where am I going? Drop the four in my cup, now I'm floating. I can't feel a thing, to be real, I just go through the motions. Where am I going? Nigga, I'm in deep like the ocean. I've been in my bag, everybody around me, I'm ghosting. Where am I going? Drop the four in my cup, now I'm floating. I can't feel a thing, to be real, I just go through the motions. Where am I going?
We are going to another episode of HardFoul Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in as always. Sorry for not being here yesterday. We had a nasty stomach virus yesterday, so we were not able to do much. But we are back today. It is a wonderful day. It's Tuesday, May 13th. Let's get started. This is the show that values time and puts God first. Appreciate everybody as always. So, I want to discuss, to start the show, shout out to all the NBA is rigged, sports are rigged. You guys won yesterday. To everybody that believes that, you guys won yesterday. So, the Dallas Mavericks won the first overall pick in the NBA draft through the lottery system. And of course, because they just traded Luka and they had a 1.7% chance, and they're like the third highest team ever to move up that far from what their projected odds to get a number one overall pick. All the NBA is rigged, all sports are rigged, all the conspiracy theorists. You guys had a time yesterday. Shout out to you. Here's what I really think. Is the NBA rigged? Or is the draft lottery specifically rigged? Maybe. For the amount of excitement and interest, and to keep some of these teams interesting, is there probably some tweaking and tinkering with the lottery? Maybe a little bit. Is it totally shocking that Chris Paul, after he's traded, New Orleans gets number one overall pick, Anthony Davis? After Anthony Davis is traded to the Lakers, again, New Orleans gets number one overall pick, Zion Williamson and Luka Doncic. After he is traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, and now the Dallas Mavericks end up with a number one overall pick. Am I going to say it's rigged? Maybe. Let's just be honest with ourselves. But is that necessarily a terrible thing? Look, you need to keep individual markets happy. You need to keep individual markets interested. And what a way for the markets that have people that show up, for the markets that have people that are buying tickets. Keep those markets, give them a chance to have excitement. The Dallas Mavericks fan base just went through one of the worst seasons of all time. And it wasn't because they won some record low amount of games. It wasn't because they were just woefully, like, no talent, nothing on the roster. They went through one of the worst times in their franchise's history because they had their guy, their superstar, and he was traded away in a move that still makes no sense. Makes no sense. No one understands it. No one gets it. Luka was just traded it felt like he was just traded in the middle of the night. Just gone. And so even if it is rigged, what does that really mean? Because here's the thing. I'm not saying that Cooper Flag won't be a great NBA player. He might. But when it was rigged, quote unquote, because I believe at the time even when New Orleans, when they had the Chris Paul trade and they got the number one overall pick, David Stern was still involved with the team. What did they get the New Orleans Pelicans? As someone who's a fan, what did they get him? They got him Anthony Davis, who was obviously fun, exciting, was a franchise superstar. But they didn't start winning titles. They didn't start making super deep playoff runs. What did that get them in the long term? Because the reality is, unless Cooper Flag ends up being some megastar, was it really, quote-unquote, rigged for him? Victor Wembanyama, we know the connection with Tony Parker. Obviously, he goes to the Spurs. Was it rigged for them? Maybe. But was it also more exciting? Was it more interesting? Yeah, it's more interesting that he was in San Antonio. Obviously, Popovich ended up retiring, but him going to a team with Popovich, a team with that culture, a team with the ability to see his talents grow. And I think Victor's going to be a superstar. I think Victor's going to be one of the, if not the best player in the NBA within the next 2 years. But are they going to start magically winning a bunch of titles? Are they going to start magically going on these super deep playoff runs? We'll see. So the Mavericks, again, we're going to have 3 number 1 overall picks, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, and now Cooper Flagg. Again, was it rigged for Cleveland? Like LeBron said this on Pat McAfee's show. And again, let's just be honest about it. It's more exciting when Derrick Rose, the hometown heroes in Chicago. It's more exciting when LeBron James, the hometown heroes in Cleveland. Those are nice storylines. Those are exciting storylines. Those are fun to watch the careers play out the way they did. Would we view these guys the same if they were on another team? Look, and again, the NBA is rigged, the conspiracy theories, guys, you guys are all going to have a field day. But in my opinion, the reality is sometimes it's set up. In the world and in business, people that belong to certain families, people that go to certain schools, people that have certain connections, it's not what you know, it's who you know. They end up in certain places. So yeah, the Utah Jazz, who apparently seem to have no connection because as they've attempted to tank their way the last couple of years, they can't get a number 1 overall pick to save their life. But the Mavs, the Pelicans, the Cavs with LeBron, the Bulls with D-Rose, and speaking of the Bulls, there's a lot of Bulls fans that are now thinking, well, if this is how you know the rigging works, and I'm not trying to be facetious here, but it's just the reality of it. Bulls fans believe this morning that the only reason they didn't get Cooper Flagg is because of a Josh Giddey half-court shot to beat the Lakers. So even if it was quote-unquote rigged, the NBA must be doing a good job of rigging it because there is still a fan base that believes they got genuinely screwed because of what happened on the court. So was it rigged to get Cooper Flagg to Dallas? Maybe. Is it going to be more exciting because he's in Dallas, not in Utah? 1,000%. And Utah will get there, guys. Utah will be able to acquire players. It's the reality of sports. It's the reality of life. Who you know, not what you know. Moving on to another guy who would have been the number 1 overall pick in his draft if anybody knew what was going on. So all these hypothetical trades with Giannis Antetokounmpo, Giannis Shams Charania reported yesterday that he was open for the first time in his career to potentially going somewhere not Milwaukee. This is interesting for a couple of reasons. Now, it's going to be really fun and exciting to think about what is Giannis going to look like on this team? What's Giannis going to look like in this team? There's going to be a million fake trade packages and a million different things you can do. People have him on the Rockets. People have him. The Nets supposedly going to be very aggressive. But if you're Giannis Antetokounmpo, why would you want to be traded somewhere? And I know people are going to go, well, you want to win. You want to compete. That's true. But let's look at another. Giannis Antetokounmpo is an all-time great. I truly believe that. He's one of the greatest players you've ever seen. His resume at the end of the day, when he's finally done playing, we'll see his resume stacks up with the other guys, and that's where you'll rank him on your all-time list. But he is one of the greatest players you've ever seen basketball. You know who else is? Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is maybe the greatest scorer of all time, one of the 10 to 15 greatest players you've ever seen on the court, and just a true all-time talent and personality. Kevin Durant should be a case study for Giannis. Do I want to do what Kevin Durant did, which is go every couple of years and get traded to a team that I quote-unquote have the best chance to win a title? Not all legacies are created the same. They're just not. And not everybody is fighting for the same legacy. Not everybody's fighting to be LeBron, Michael Jordan, Kobe, Magic, 4, 5, 6 titles, greatest of all time. Not everybody's in that. Oh, but you're not competitive. You're not a real competitor if you're not trying to do that. Do we think Hakeem's legacy is any different because he doesn't have 4 or 5 titles? Dirk only has 1 title. Dirk has one of the best legacies I've ever seen, including his title being one of the most respected of all time. Giannis, if you were to stay in Milwaukee, you know what your legacy and reputation is going to be? You brought 1, potentially a 2nd title to a franchise that just doesn't have them. Look at LeBron's title in Cleveland. We view much higher than his titles in Miami. Again, not everybody's going to be Magic winning 5 titles with the Lakers or Duncan winning 5 titles with the Spurs. And that's fine. There's so many amazing legacies that are not in the quote-unquote Michael Jordan, LeBron James tier. And let's look at Kevin Durant, one of the greatest players we've ever seen. KD's legacy has somehow found a way to get worse, weirder, murkier the more teams he goes to, and it doesn't work out. Yeah, he went to Golden State. A lot of people don't respect the Golden State titles because that team was stacked. And then you go to Brooklyn, and it was weird with you, Kyrie, and James. And then you're in Phoenix, and now Phoenix situation isn't working out. And now potentially there's talks about getting you to Houston. And it's like, are you just going to keep doing this over and over and over again? And it's, it takes away from the all-time greatness and your all-time talent because you keep going to all these different destinations and it doesn't work out. Is that the path Giannis wants to follow? And let's take it from a personal note. And I'm not trying to attack Kevin Durant's character whatsoever. It is just the difference in lives that they live. Kevin Durant is not married and has no children. Giannis is married and has multiple children, and I believe his wife is pregnant again. Giannis does not want to move at the rate Kevin Durant. It's easier for Kevin Durant as a single man to pick his stuff up and go city to city. Giannis Antetokounmpo is not going to want to move his family again and again and again just to pursue a title. And it doesn't mean he's not competitive. It doesn't mean he's not some great competitor. That's a difference in life. He has children. They're going to be in schools. They're going to be growing up, moving them away from their friends. That's a real life thing. And or he has to move, keep his kids in one place, and he's going to be away from his kids and his wife. And I don't believe he wants to do that either. Again, that's just a life thing. So Durant's the other all-time great guy who just keeps going team to team, trying to win a title, trying to be in the best position. Is that really the way Giannis wants to go? So if I'm Giannis, and there is something too, we are running out of guys. Again, when it comes to his legacy, we are running out of guys who are one franchise guys. Steph is probably going to be our last true one franchise superstar. It's obviously, again, look at the superstars in the league right now. It's not going to be Luka, maybe not of his own accord. SGA, obviously, SGA was already traded from the Clippers to the Thunder. He wasn't a superstar at the time being traded. Jokic, we'll see. If the Nuggets don't make another impressive run here in the next couple of years, is he going to be in that same boat? Like, these guys who are one franchise superstars, that means something. That is a part of your legacy. That is a part of the story of your career, the story of your life. So no, he might not get to that 4, 5, 6 title range. But if Giannis wins a second title in Milwaukee, 2 titles, one of the most dominant players you've ever seen, he's going to average 30 until the day he's done being great. One of the greatest defensive players, two-way players. Not a bad legacy. And just because he doesn't appeal to the Twitter people of the world who are like, you got to win every single year. No, you don't. That's just factually not correct. Hakeem is one of the most respected players ever. He's only got 2 titles. Dirk's one of the most respected players ever. Those are 2 of the best international players of all time. 1 title, 2 titles. Giannis already has 1. And right now, yes, is it gonna be a struggle? Look at Kobe's career. You know, Kobe went several years in between his run with Shaq and then his run with Powell, and there was even some talk, and for Kobe even pushed the button of saying, hey, I want to be traded. And that was out of LA. And Kobe's career and legacy are now different because he stayed with the Lakers. So if I'm Giannis, I don't know if I'm rushing out the door to get traded. Just saying. Grass isn't always green on the other side, man. A little slow here still today. Sorry I was good. Like I said again, sick yesterday. A lot more to come after the break. Just because you think the NBA lottery might be rigged, that does not mean that your team might not even potentially get the best player in this draft, because NBA GMs and most GMs don't know what we're doing. This is HardFoul Radio, back momentarily. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. So, another thing we got to discuss when it comes to the NBA draft is, and I know everyone always gets disappointed day one, because obviously as soon as the draft is announced, you start to go, when you lose out on the number one overall pick, it feels deflating, right? If you don't get the draft pick you think that you thought your team should have, especially in the NBA with the lottery and how the way it works, obviously, you know, the Sixers are super excited because the Sixers had a chance to potentially lose their draft pick and instead ends up in the top four, meaning they get it. But then you have teams, the Pelicans, obviously were supposed to pick in the top four, end up picking 7. And when you lose out, just when you're in this consideration, you're the Wizards who tanked all year and you thought, oh, we have a chance number one overall pick. You're the Jazz who tanked all year and number one overall pick. And you don't get the guy. It does not mean that you're not going to get the guy that you need in this draft. It does not mean that your team is not going to still draft somebody really good, especially when you consider, let's just look at number one overall picks. So I've got it here. Going back to 2015, let's just use the last 10 years. Karl Anthony Towns, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, DeAndre Ayton, Zion Williamson, Anthony Edwards, Cade Cunningham, Paolo Banchero, Victor Wembanyama, and Zachary Rissacher. Out of those 10 names, who are we absolutely sure worked as number one overall pick? Karl Anthony Towns, yes. Let's just be real. So Karl Anthony Towns worked. Ben Simmons, no. Fultz has rebounded, but still, as far as what you expect from number one overall pick. DeAndre Ayton, I love Zion, but can we say Zion because of his health? Has he worked outright? Then you have Edwards, Cade, Paolo. I think Wemby's going to work. And then we'll see about Zachary because we're not sure there yet. So we're 5-5 in terms of for sure worked what you want as a number one overall pick. Because remember, if you are the number one overall pick in any draft, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, you want to be the guy. You're supposed to be the guy. When you're not the guy, what it does is it creates this, your expectations are just different than everybody else's. You don't get to just be good. You are supposed to be great. You are supposed to be dominant. Even Karl Anthony Towns, who is a great player, has put up numbers that would be historically great amongst number one overall picks. Minnesota didn't even think he was great. And so when they got another number one overall pick in Anthony Edwards, they decided he's the direction we want to go. We're going to trade Karl Anthony Towns. Now, Towns is having success in New York, and congrats to him for that. And Towns was always a guy who showed up on that when NBA executives always say, who do you want to start a franchise with? Karl Anthony Towns used to dominate that list. And that was with guys like Anthony Davis, LeBron, still during his second prime. He used to dominate that list. He's clearly the guy you start your franchise with. So I know the Jazz fans woke up today and they're upset because it feels like Vernon Maxwell has real pull inside the league office and they can't get a number one overall pick. I know Wizards fans who had Uber drivers hooping for 70-plus games and feel like they should have gotten the number one overall pick. They're upset. But the reality is there's plenty of guys in this league who are not number one overall picks, who are Hall of Famers, all-time greats, long career guys, and the number one overall picks, and you can go back even on that list even farther, it's no guarantee that you're going to be some great player. For every D Rose and LeBron, you've got Anthony Bennett. You've got guys who don't work out as a number one overall pick. Again, even someone like Zion, who we all acknowledge the talent of Zion, Zion's never stayed healthy enough to truly justify what that number one overall pick was. And I'm not trying to be super critical of Zion. I love Zion, but the truth is the truth. The facts are the facts. He's just not healthy enough to justify that, he was a slam dunk number one overall pick. That's just the reality of it. So, yes, you're sad day one when you don't get that number one overall pick, but plenty of guys, it doesn't matter what the sport is. We're about to start transitioning here once the playoffs are over, going over to football. 6 quarterbacks were taken last year in the NFL draft. Bo Nix was 6th. His team made the playoffs. Caleb was 1. Didn't make the playoffs. Jaden Daniels was 2. Had maybe the greatest rookie season we've ever seen. So just because you don't get the number 1 overall draft pick does not mean that it's over for your team or, oh, your team, didn't do what they were supposed to. So it's just how it works. But just because you didn't get the number 1 overall pick does not mean or damn you to anything. Yeah. So if the NBA is rigged, rigging doesn't always work. That's the real moral of the story. You know what time of the day it is? It is time for Not Serious. I know I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Washington fans who are upset, and I know the fans don't really have anything to do with this, but the Washington fans that are upset about not getting a number 1 overall pick, guys, you're employing Jordan Poole at almost max money. I don't know what you want. This franchise, there's not a lot to be serious about right now. This franchise, there's not a lot to look at and go, oh, yeah, they're clearly, moving in the direction of being the Washington Wizards could make this list as a franchise every single day. It's a very unserious franchise, very unserious organization. Look, man, it just I don't know what to say, Wizard fans. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. But I've never recommended anyone to ever move to a different fan base because I know how fandom works. We're all crazy. We're all a little bit of lunatics. We're all, we all want it to work. We all want it to be like our guys. But when you think about the most unserious team maybe ever, and just unserious franchise, the Wizards are high on that list. They just are. So, another one for not serious. The Browns in the NFL. We're just attacking franchises today. So all the reports coming out of Browns camp is people are watching Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel side by side, and the conversation is Shedeur is better, arm looks better, he looks like he has more of a command, all this, which I believe every bit of it, because during the entirety of the draft process, during the entirety of their time in college football, during all of their time as far as being prospects for the NFL, Shedeur was always the better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel. So yeah, when you put them side by side, you see how unserious the NFL and GMs and the Cleveland Browns were to draft him and another quarterback. Like, let's be real. And the Browns are going to have the issue of the guy they drafted, because the Browns don't have a serious answer at quarterback on the roster. Like, Kenny Pickett's not serious. Joe Flacco's almost 40. And redacted he's his own case. You drafted Shedeur and another quarterback, and now everybody's looking at them in practice and going, oh yeah, one's clearly the better player because he's always been the better player. At least if you're the Saints, even though you just had Derek Carr retire and your quarterback room doesn't look great, they're all going to kind of look the same, and guys are going to watch them and go, okay, this is what we have. Guys are going to watch Shedeur. Right now it's just the rookies. What happens when the vets go in there, when Myles Garrett's there, David Njoku's there, Denzel Ward's there, and they're going, Shedeur looks really good. Dylan Gabriel just looks okay. Like, Dylan Gabriel's he's just a guy. Shedeur looks like he might be special. And watch, the Browns are going to double down on the not serious take, because supposedly, again, the rumor is that Andrew Berry and Stefanski didn't want him. It was an owner stepped in. And if they decide to not play him or give him the starter reps or the chance to compete because they're like, well, he just wasn't our guy, doubling down on unserious is how you become a bad franchise. So the Cleveland Browns, Shedeur, not serious. Last but not least in the not serious is the, again, we're going at franchises. I went at the NBA, one in the NFL, and now let's go to Major League Baseball. We got to do something about the Colorado Rockies, man. There's nothing I can say that's not going to be news or changing anybody's life. We all know it. The Colorado Rockies, it's dysfunctional. They're 6-34 now, I believe, at the time, as of this morning. Look, you could be bad. What's insane is that 30,000. I don't know who's more unserious. The team that is historically bad, who is literally worse than the Chicago White Sox, who were the worst team ever just a year ago, or the fans who are still that 30,000 people a night going out to see this team. I don't know who's more unserious. And now they're saying, they want them to sell the team. They want them, if you want somebody to sell the team, you got to go full Oakland A's. And I know Oakland didn't want the A's to sell the team. It was a different situation. But you got to stop showing up. When the owner still gets to make the kind of money he's making off the Colorado Rockies because 30,000 of you show up every night, they're not the highest attendance in the league by any means, but they're definitely not the lowest. 30,000 people are showing up to see the worst baseball team ever play? And I know Tony and I kind of discussed this, a lot of times baseball games are actually just like a big-ass bar and, there's kind of something going on in the middle of the field. It's like entertainment's there, but a lot of people go to watch a baseball game, aren't necessarily going to watch a baseball game, and that has something to do with their attendance numbers. But, man, a very unserious team, a very unserious fans, if they want actual competition or a competitive product on the field. A lot of things about the Rockies are bad right now. But don't worry, Colorado. The Broncos are coming to save you. You at least got that. Transitioning from there, the Celtics, the season's over. Okay, they're down 3-1 to the Knicks. Jason Tatum, it looks like we'll get a medical confirmation MRI later today. Most likely tore his Achilles. Which is going to mess up, it's going to mess up next season for him, right? And this team is going to be going through a lot of changes with ownership and because they just got new owners. It's the most expensive team in NBA history, and new owners, despite all the new money going into sports, one of the things that isn't new is guys don't want to pay top dollar unless they are getting absolutely top results. We saw this with the Warriors. When the Warriors were going to the finals year after year after year after year, they were willing to pay top dollar. The funny side is, on the other side of that, LeBron was making it to the finals year after year after year, and Dan Gilbert still didn't want to spend top dollar. He was spending more, but didn't want to spend top dollar. And so this is a very expensive team. Drew Holiday, Chris Stapps, Derek White, and then obviously Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. So this team's going to look different. And I said this it was a thought exercise, but it's the reality of what makes a great player versus what makes an all-time great player. Now, both are fine legacies and careers to have. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite for what I said about Giannis earlier in the show. But when we talked about Jokic, who I do think is an all-time player, Giannis, who I do think is an all-time player, look how their defending champions teams went. Giannis scored 15 games, 7. The Bucks consistently a top 2 to 3 seed year after year after year. He finally got over the wall. He finally got over the hump. We're about to see Giannis Antetokounmpo go crazy. There's no way the Bucks can lose. Surefire title, they're going to win it again. Losing the second round. Then we look at the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic. Again, same thing. Surefire. Nuggets going to repeat. Jokic, Murray, they have the same core. Losing the second round. And now the Boston Celtics, who were no doubt surefire, going to repeat, are going to lose in the second round. there is only, this is not a criticism, there's only one Michael Jordan, there's only one LeBron James, there's only one Kobe Bryant, there's only one Magic Johnson, there's only one Tim Duncan. And these guys are just, there's a reason why there's so few of them. Most, even all-time greats, get you one, sometimes just max 2 titles. And that's okay. Again, we thought the Nuggets were surefire going to repeat. We thought the Bucks were surefire going to repeat. And now and I know Celtics fans will say, oh, well, Tatum's injured. Tatum's injured now. You were losing that game anyway. You were down 3-1. You probably weren't coming back against the Knicks. So let's be honest here. We got to stop just saying, yo, win one title, you're obviously going to win a second. It does not work that way. If you win one, fantastic. But winning a second is by no means a guarantee. So whoever wins this title, if it's the Timberwolves, if it's the Thunder, if it's all we're going to hear all offseason, whoever it is, because it's going to be most likely, unless Denver wins, it's most likely to be a first-time champion. We cannot start the offseason and the NBA season going, yeah, this team's going to win another one, just how it works, because it doesn't. And Jokic is an all-time player, and Giannis is an all-time player, and Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, this is an all-time team in terms of talent what the Celtics have. And still, we're going to have another not repeating NBA champion. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back. So, the something that I don't think it could have also made not serious, because I don't think it's a really big deal, or at least I don't think it should be, is the Denver Nuggets, and Aaron Gordon was specifically talking about this, and Charles Barkley did a little bit too on TNT, is that, it was unfair that they did the whole, like, they played a late game Friday night, and then they played an early game Sunday. Look, man, it's the playoffs. I don't want to hear, we didn't get the schedule we wanted. These series after the first, when they have to do all 8 series, all 4 on the East, all 4 on the West, and then there's some differences of, sometimes you get 2 days off because of scheduling. I know the Warriors series right now, there was a change in schedule because the Valkyries were going to open up. The playoff basketball is, the expectation is you're going to play every other day. Whether that's the late game, the night game, whatever it is, the expectation is you're going to play every other day. And so now Aaron Gordon, to his credit, says that's not the reason they lost or wasn't blaming it, but he was upset that, hey, why did we get this schedule? And Charles Barkley said he thinks it was unfair for the NBA to give him that schedule. But I'm like, OKC had to do the same thing, and it's not OKC's fault that they're deeper and they could play more guys and so they could adjust to it. If anything, that is Adelman's fault for not understanding that and trying to just, get 43, 44 minutes out of his superstars, knowing that they were going to have to play not even a full 48 hours later. So I don't want to hear about this. It's not an excuse. It's not anything that I think the league needs to be worried about next year of like, do we need to, move the Nuggets in a way or have the Nuggets play a different schedule? No. It's playoff basketball. The reason why you're here is because you are playing that many games. The expectation is you're going to play every other night or every other day. Does not matter. So let's not act like, it's unfair. They didn't get they were given a jank schedule or unfair chance. It's playoff basketball, man. You play every other day, whether you're playing at night, whether you're playing at night, whether you're playing in the morning. It's the NBA. It's playoff basketball. Hour 2, HardFoul Radio, coming up next. And we are back for hour 2. This is HardFoul Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. So, I want to talk about this. The Wolves are now a lock, in my opinion, to go to the NBA Finals. I predicted the Wolves would get here. Now, a lot of my predictions for the NBA playoffs have not worked out exactly as I thought it would. But still, we're getting there. And, as long as you get to the end point, you're good, right? So, I want to discuss how, even though it's not the way I predicted, the Wolves are currently the best team set up right now to make the finals. And that's because they're up 3-1 on the Warriors. Steph's not playing. We'll get to him in a second. I think they're going to win in Game 5 in Minnesota. And I believe OKC Denver is going 7. And that's the perfect scenario for Minnesota. Because Minnesota they're not younger than OKC, obviously, but they're still relatively young. And they're not in nearly as physical a series, and it is showing. These teams that are playing super physical series, we are seeing the outcome of them. We're seeing the Warriors post playing the Rockets. That was a super physical series. Houston's a very physical team. We're seeing the impact of it. Not just with the injury, but just overall. You see the Warriors are a much different team in the second half of games, fourth quarter of games, versus the Timberwolves, who played a less physical series against the Lakers and are now playing a less physical series against the Warriors because the Warriors are tired because they played a super physical series in round 1. The Nuggets and Thunder are beating the crap out of each other. There's just no way to put it. They're just beating the crap out of each other. And so, with beating the crap out of each other means those two teams, and if I believe they're going 7 games, by the time they get to Minnesota, they're going to be tired, they're going to be more exhausted, they're going to be more spent up, versus Minnesota is going to be more rested, healthier, whole 9 yards. So I think, again, look at Game 4. Look at you saw Jokic tired. You saw Murray tired. You saw SGA at points tired. You saw Chet tired. And OKC has depth. OKC has guys they can throw at you. But the reality of it is these teams that are playing these super physical, tough series, and if it's going 5, 6, or not even 5, it's going 6, 7 games. And I predict OKC Denver to go 7. This all lines up better for the Timberwolves. And then by the time we get to the NBA Finals, which right now it looks like we're going to have Knicks Pacers in the conference finals. Shout out Reggie Miller, Spike Lee. Those two teams are also going to be, that's going to be a super physical, I believe, 6-7 game series. And I think Minnesota is going to, not cakewalk, but I think they will be in a much better position in their Western Conference Finals to win their series in 5-6 games, give themselves even more time off. And this is going to line up where, again, not a quote-unquote an easy path, but a much more manageable path to the finals. And again, I was wrong on Milwaukee. I was wrong on the Clippers. I was wrong on a lot of my predictions for the NBA playoffs. So maybe this is just the kiss of death to Minnesota, and they don't want no parts of me. But what they're doing and how I believe this season will end, the Minnesota Timberwolves should be your 2025 NBA champions. They're going to be healthier. They're playing less physical series, less physical games. Anthony Edwards looks like he has truly taken that step. Julius Randle is he is defeating all the playoff demons that we had about him. Is Gobert going to have another 2020 game? Probably not. I'd bet money that he's not. But he's playing well. He's still defending, which is what they really want him for anyway. Again, Anthony Edwards is playing like the man, and they're just not in these nearly as grueling series and grueling games as these other teams are. Again, they got to pull Anthony Edwards out of the game early last night. They brought him back for a little bit because the Warriors started to somewhat close the lead. But, again, not playing these super physical games, these super physical teams, this is going to set up real nicely for the Timberwolves to make it and win the NBA Finals. So we'll at least get that part right. I think. Or I'm just a kiss of death and no one should ever listen to me ever about an NBA Finals prediction. One or the other. Can't go wrong, right? Secondly, I want to move on because I think this is actually the more interesting story, even though I just called the Timberwolves the NBA champions. Steph Curry is Superman. I know there's the commercial going around right now with Jason Tatum being Superman. Steph Curry is actually Superman. Look, the Warriors with and without Steph Curry are just two different teams. They're just two different teams. And I know there's other guys who you can assign great value to. Obviously, LeBron's had great value the entirety of his career. Jokic has great value what he does for the Nuggets. Even though no one wants to give him the credit, Tatum provides great value for the Celtics, even though people don't want to necessarily credit him with that because of how great the overall team is. No one provides value like Steph Curry in every facet of the Warriors. The Warriors with and without him go from a team that, if they were healthy, and specifically he was healthy, could have made the finals, which is something I thought was impossible to start this playoffs. I didn't think the Warriors were good enough. I didn't think the Warriors had what it took, but I underestimated just how great 30 is. That offense is not good when Steph is off the court. They're just not. Steph got them the lead in game one, and they were able to kind of mishmash their way and keep the lead and keep Minnesota at bay and win game one. But if Steph gets hurt probably any earlier in that game, this is a sweep. Jimmy Butler, despite being a great playoff performer, and he had the 30-plus in game three, he can't be your lead guy for these playoffs against any of these teams that you are expecting to potentially beat, whether it's the Timberwolves, the Pacers, the Knicks, whoever's the OKC Thunder, he can't be your lead guy. This offense is drawing dead without Steph. And Steph is so crazy because, again, this team potentially could have gone to the finals with a healthy Steph. And let's look at, as a whole, and this has kind of always been true for Steph, when he's on the court versus when he's not, he is we talk about gravity and the kind of guys you have to pay elite levels of attention to. Maybe nobody more in NBA history than Steph Curry. When he moves without the ball, he dictates where a defense goes. When he has the ball, he dictates where a defense goes. He's constantly moving, so you have to always pay attention to him. What he does is just different than everybody. And I was looking at, look at the evaluation. Steph, talking about how valuable it is. The Warriors are the most valuable franchise in the NBA, and it's not close. They're $9 billion. And if the Knicks are the second, to outpace the Knicks and Lakers as the Golden State Warriors, who were not a top 5, top 10 franchise worth team prior to Steph Curry, that is incredible. What he provides on, off the court, this is just an entirely different team. Again, there's plenty of guys who are extremely valuable. LeBron, Jokic, SGA, Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton. Nobody is as valuable as Steph Curry. That's the reality. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily.